You know how I make videos on recurrent themes, and I keep hearing of something recently which is literally causing people to have their own unintentional delay. If you want to know what I'm talking about, then you're going to want to stay tuned. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another rousing episode of Spill the Tea Tuesday. My name is Flossie, and I consider myself to be the funniest, wittiest mindset coach, as well as your OG Hype You Up Rampage Queen here on YouTube. If you want one-on-one coaching with me, links are going to be in the description box below, as well as links to things like the new Manifesting Accountability Journal that is based on how Nikki and I teach you. There is a check-in every day for 90 days where you're going to identify like when you affirmed, how you felt, what you want to remember about that day, what was the best thing about that day, things you did, people you met, your rating of the day. You know, it also talks about things you're grateful for. Why? Because it wants to get you into the mindset of manifesting and holding yourself accountable for actually doing your routine. And how you felt today is going to be how you can rate your mental diet. But anyhow, pretty dope book. Also has rooms for FU letters, which you can tear out because we never keep FU letters. There's also room for you to write command letters, which you can keep if you want, unless of course they're about third parties or overly talking about the old story. So before I get into the topic of the day, you know, I'm going to do my calendar. So this one says, welcome to the shit show. Only if you're really subscribing to what's going on in the 3D and giving that any weight, because otherwise you're going to what? Not care. This says, fine, take all my fucking money. Yeah, okay. Need to keep in mind that this is thinking about the tax day, but just manifest more money. Don't care about that. This just has the F word, and it's just implying a bunch of swearing. It says fuck. Well, no need to even worry about that. Check your bullshit at the door. How about you check the 3D bullshit at the door and leave it where it belongs, out of sight, out of mind. Why? Because you're the operant power of your reality. You can be, do, have anything that you want. This says wake up, kick ass, repeat. Absolutely, you're going to wake up, kick ass with your what? Affirming and having an amazing mental diet, and persisting, and then repeat that until when your manifestation is legit hardened into fact, because you can and you fucking will continue to affirm and persist till you have what you want, because you're the operant power of your reality and you can literally have whatever you want. So why even focus on anything else? So I keep hearing, maybe I'm going to be a little ranty, I don't know, but I keep hearing time and time again from clients and others and, you know, groups, comments, posts, saying things like, and I'm just going to use the word SP. This can just be anybody in your reality. You know, the specific person doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic interest. Usually in this community it is. But whenever you say anything or think thoughts the line of when SP chooses, or when SP chose, or when SP decides, or that they decided, do you hear the words that are coming out of your mouth? And if you don't make this association quickly, I'm hoping that my words will help you. Whenever you say shit like that, the SP decides, chooses, whatever, you're basically giving them free will, because they don't have the free will to decide or choose. I noticed while editing this video that there's something in here that's not fully clear, and I want to give some clarity on it, especially to stay in line with how I teach free will. So to me, free will only exists with you. We can't actually, in my opinion, give others in our 3D reality free will. We can, however, if we're having the thought process that they have it, it would appear to us as though they have it, and we would think that we're not able to have that person conform to our new dominant thoughts and assumptions. And so when I'm saying that when a person is having thoughts along the lines of that SP chooses, SP decides, SP can choose, or that they can decide, they're looking at that person as though they have free will. And so therefore in their mind, it's like that person already has a free will, and it seems like they're giving that person free will and whatnot. But you actually can't, in my opinion, give someone free will. It may look like that. They're still going to act based on your dominant thoughts and assumptions that you hold about them. So I just want to make that clear. Even though I'm saying you're giving them free will, I don't mean that you're literally giving them free will. You're like giving them the appearance of free will and then thinking that they can go ahead and reject you, or that they're not going to conform to what you're affirming, if that makes some sense. So now back to the video. Now that I've cleared that up, you can't give them actual free will, but you are along the lines of thinking that they have it. And so it's going to look that way to you. Now, I do know that we speak in 3D language, and it is not unusual to talk that way. It's not unusual to be like, well, SP, chose or decided, because it can appear that way, right? But you have to keep in mind that when you use that language, or at least when you really think that way, because I have clients who are literally like, when SP decides that they want to be with me, no, the fuck they don't decide. It might seem to them like they've decided, and that might be even the language that they use to you in the 3D reality. Like, I decided I'm madly in love with you, or, and I decided I wanted a relationship with you. They may use those words, but they don't essentially decide shit. Why? Because they don't have any fucking free will. And if you don't remember, perhaps I should link 1 or maybe even 2 free will videos up here in the corner side by side, because I do have multiple videos where I talk about free will. And the only person with free will in your reality is you. Why? Because you have the free will to choose the thoughts and therefore assumptions that you're going to have. You have the free will to choose what you're going to affirm. You have the free will to choose a clean mental diet. The people in your 3D reality must conform to your dominant thoughts and assumptions about them. Remember, when I talk about in the video, if you don't like your 3D reality, change the script, I talk about changing the script. Everybody gets a script of how they're going to show up in your 3D reality, including you. So when we think thoughts like SP decides, or when SP decides, or any, it doesn't matter, anybody in our 3D reality. Sometimes even people personify concepts like money, like when money decides that I'm going to be rich, or when money decides to show up in my bank account, or when money chooses me. No, 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 no. Or even when they're like, when the universe chooses. No, there is no universe choosing. There is no SP choosing, deciding. There is no money choosing to be with you, or, any shit like that. Don't continue to give these people, objects, concepts in your 3D reality any free will. You are the manifestor. Hey, if you want to use the term universe, because you like it, and you like, the thought process that, the universe is always blessing you, I just say tread carefully, as long as you know that at the end of the day that you are the manifestor, or that if you want to look at it as the universe is manifesting through you, or that God manifests through you, that's a personal decision. As long as you continue to realize that you, at the end of the day, are what is wielding that it's your thoughts, and whatever you choose to assume, it's whatever you choose to have your dominant thought become on a topic, that is literally what you're going to experience. That is what your 3D reality is going to, mirror back to you, reflect back to you. That is what's going to conform to. But when we use language repeatedly, and I know that I use it too, I'm not going to say that I'm like completely innocent, because I do use like words of like decided and things like that. But I also know that people in my 3D reality don't have any free will, and I don't think in those terms as far as, well, when SP decided. No, SP doesn't decide shit, okay? I decide, and then it's conformed to, period. So I think people are unintentionally giving others in their 3D reality, or, concepts of money, things like that, free will, by thinking, well, when SP decides that he or she wants to be with me, when SP decides that they want a relationship, when SP decides that they love me, when SP decides to leave the third party, when SP decides, when SP chooses, SP this, SP that. No, your SP doesn't have the free will to reject you. I actually have a video on that about, that your SP can't reject you, about, it appearing that way. It only appears that way. It only appears that they decide. It only appears that they choose. It only appears that they reject. But if you are thinking, well, SP's got to decide to want to be with me. No, they don't. No, they do not. You make the decision of whether you want SP to want to be with you or not. And then you affirm and persist for that, and it has to conform. Now, it might seem to them that they've woken up and they've decided that they want to be with you, or that the thoughts entered their head that they can't think of anything but you. And then they come forth to you, but they've chosen to based on their feelings. It might seem like that. They may even use those words. They may even mirror that back to you, reflect that back to you as how it's described, but that's not actually what it is. What it is you gave them a script that says, you're madly in love with me, you want to be with me, you can't think of anything else but being in a relationship with me, our relationship is perfect, you treat me like a queen, king, whatever, and then they show up and conform to that when that becomes your dominant thought about them, period. End of story. That's just the way that it is. When you continue to use the thought process, because it's not necessarily just using the words, it's like the thought process of SP, when SP decides, you're giving them essentially the free will to decide whenever they feel like it, that they want to be with you, instead of remembering who you are as the operant power and that this person doesn't have the free will to reject you in the first place. So stop looking at it as when they choose or when they decide, or, you know, like they have some sort of fucking choice, because they don't. And again, when it seems as though they're rejecting you, it's because the current script that you gave them says, hey, reject me. Hey, act like you don't want to be with me. Hey, purposely not choose me. You know, treat me in a way that I don't prefer. Treat me like this because that's my relationship pattern, or treat me like that because that's just my dominant thought about you. Whatever that it is, they're just showing up based on your dominant thoughts and assumptions about either them, what they represent, or the assumptions that you hold about, you know, relationships in general, which I've talked about plenty, and I've talked about other videos multiple times. But what I'm saying right now is really be mindful of how you're thinking about the people in your 3D reality, or, you know, the concepts that you hold, like about money, about jobs, you know, whether you're seeing that as just showing up when it wants to, just when it chooses you, just when the boss decides to hire you, just when someone decides that they're going to give you money, just when, you know, money decides it's going to come to you. No, like, no. You don't want to continue to think of things as when they decide or when they choose. Because when they decide or when they choose, depending on what your assumptions about that, could be indefinitely. And I think that this is part of what gets people in the boat of, I've been, you know, working on this and trying to manifest this for what seems like forever, and I don't feel like I'm getting any movement or I'm getting anywhere, or I just keep getting like the same hot and cold behavior. Well, how are you truly looking at it? Are you looking at it as this person's not choosing you and they're choosing not to choose you, and it's like whenever they decide eventually to be with you, that's when you'll be together? Because if that's the case, you're like trying to give them free will, which is something that they don't have, and trying to make it seem like they actually make the decision, which they don't. And that can, you know, it's my thought process that can cause your own unintentional delay. Because if I'm leaving it up to someone who literally acts like they don't want to be with me, for waiting for them to decide at some point that they want to be with me, I mean, how much gray hair do I want to have before that happens? Whereas if I take the stance of, I'm the operant power, this person doesn't have any free will, I'm going to keep affirming and persisting and using the tools because I know that they must conform. That's a completely different mindset versus, well, we'll wait and see when SP decides, when SP chooses, or when boss decides, you know, when this person decides they want to hire me, when the bank decides they want to give me money. What the fuck? Come on now. Don't be looking at things like that, because we know that that's not how things work. And if you don't know how things work, then maybe you need to check out, you know, maybe I'll link the playlist of like manifestation basics here so that you can go review some manifestation one-on-one and how manifesting works, because people don't have any free will. Your 3D reality must conform to your dominant thoughts and assumptions about them or whatever they represent to you. Facts. And so nobody's deciding anything except for you. It may seem that way. It may look that way. They may use that verbiage. We may still use that verbiage because it's 3D way of describing something, but don't get caught up and don't be mistaken that an SP actually has to decide anything or an SP actually has to choose, because there's no free will to even make those choices. It just appears that way. So I'm hoping that this video is helpful to you. I know that there's a handful out there of you that I've worked with recently that I've actually made this correction with, which is why I've decided to make a video, because I'm figuring if I'm correcting it for people, there must be, you know, a misunderstanding somewhere in the manifestation process, or, you know, maybe it's just one of those bizarre coaches. I guess that's the word of coach and roach, cockroach combined together. But maybe one of those croaches crawled out from under some rock and decided that they were going to make a video, pun on words, play on words there, that your SP has to decide to want to be with you, or that your SP has to choose you, which is what? Bullshit. So if there's someone out there saying that type of crap, you know exactly what I think about that. Put that in the trash where it belongs. And if you're confused about the owl trash can, well, don't forget this bitch is hungry for your bullshit. Put bullshit like that in there. There is no such thing as any of these people having any free will to choose or decide. Only you've got that. Only you have that. So Again, hope this video has been helpful to you. Drop any comments, questions, or concerns below because you know I love to check them out. And as usual, I'll talk to you later. Bye!